Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. We're in the garden today. It's not raining, thankfully. I promised we'd have a look at our willow tunnel and see how it's going. Just for some background, if you look back on our older videos, we installed this willow tunnel last April. So you're looking right now at 14 months later at how much it's grown, how much it's filled in. If you take a look back, you'll know that what we did was we took dormant willow rods, they're called, which are just 6 foot long, 6 to 7 foot long willow stems. No roots, completely just 7 foot long willow cuttings. We stuck them in the ground, equally spaced, groups of 3 at the corners, all standing upright. Every 12 inches or so, we put a stake in, and then 2 stakes, 2 rods on angles. So it's looking a bit unruly. I actually was in here in the spring before it leafed out, tying in some of the wayward stems. And you can see how much it's grown already. If you look at some of these shoots from the base, these have grown 4 feet already this year. So it's quite amazing, but we're really at a stage now where we can start to enclose the top, because you see we've left it open because a lot of these rods weren't long enough to make a good tall tunnel. I want a person who's 6.5 feet tall to be able to walk through this tunnel without ducking. So we didn't tie the tops in. So we're getting to that stage now. The tops are high enough. We can start tying them in. But just with the pruning that or the tying in that we've done, you can see we're pretty sturdy already. These are freestanding. They're not tied to anything other than themselves. So we're going to work a little bit today on showing you what stage we're at and what we're doing now with all these sort of random side shoots to build strength of the tunnel. Like I say, we're freestanding now, so we've got a few issues to figure out. This outside branch here wants to lean out. This inside post here, they're a little crooked, so we're going to try to straighten those out. And we're going to start to put together the hoop or the roof so we can make this a proper tunnel. And then we'll just work away at the sides. When you see the sides, and we'll see if Laura can bring the camera in a little bit, and I'll show you how the sides are working out. So what we've got is we've got a crisscross pattern. We have a straight rod. From that, we have a rod that goes out this way and ties into the next straight rod on this side. And then from the bottom, going the other direction, we have a rod that ties into the next straight rod on this side. And it's long enough that it ties into the next straight rod 2 rods down. So you don't see it at the moment, but you get this really interesting crisscross pattern. So we're going to work our way back to that. I'm going to get my twist ties here. So we're using the Bio Stretch. We used this a few weeks ago when we were starting to build our fuchsia standards. Well, maybe look at those next week. It's a great biodegradable stretch tie. It feels like it's almost made of t-shirt material, and it'll deteriorate in 2 years. And in 2 years, whatever we've tied in will be growing into itself, so we don't need to worry about it being tied. So what we do at this point is we look at where the side branches are going. So let's start on if you can see, where can you see, Laura? Can you see sort of right here? Does that work? Okay. So we'll start at the bottom here. We got a little Scotch thistle making its way into the picture, so we'll try and get rid of him. Ouch. I love Scotch thistles, but they're very prickly. So we can see, if we start at the bottom here, we can see that on this one side shoot here, we have a stem that's growing very vertically. It's low enough to the bottom that we're going to put that in as part of our vertical stake here. So I can take it and I can gently sort of weave it through, weave it around itself, bring a small branch in, and I can weave that right up. And then somewhere up here, I'll just put a tie in. And that will help strengthen the upright. Now, we'll get rid of few of these tiny little ones, because we really don't need those. It'll make it a bit more visual. So if you see now on this cross piece here, we want to strengthen that line that goes like this. So at the base here, we have these guys. And while these are going upright, they're on the cross beam. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that one and we're going to put it through the cross beam and sort of weave it through. We're going to gather up whatever else is there and weave it right up through, all on that, onto itself. Then I've got another one here doing the same thing. So we're going to take it and we're going to weave it onto itself as well. And then that builds up. Get rid of that little geranium. That builds up a nice, sturdy, woven, angled piece. So this. I can let that go for a second. Cut two of these. So we can go back in here. We can tie together the pieces we've woven together. And then we'll go up top to where they ended. And they're way up here. Almost, right, two more rods deeper down the tunnel than where they grew from. So we'll tie those in. And there we go. So now as I look here, I see that we've got a few more uprights, and they're coming off the upright cane here. So what we'll try and do is sort of weave those into place on the upright. We'll take a few of these small twigs and twist them in on the upright, because they're all connected to that upright. We can get rid of some of these small shoots that we really don't need. And we can bring that one in. And again, then what we're doing is just building up strength on these uprights. So we'll tie that one off. The beauty of willow at this stage is it's so pliable. You can really do anything you want with it. So it's great for making these tunnels, teepees, walls, fences, anything you like. I think the next thing we've got is I've got an area where an old fence has come down, and I'm thinking about building something like this to replace the fence and be like a living fence. So you can see how we've got a bit of a pattern going on here. I'm going to tie these ones in a little bit at the base, because that's just going to help strengthen the uprights all the way along. They're a bit not quite ready to sort of weave together, but I'm going to tie them up. And like with bonsai, as you train and wrap the branches, they will eventually stay there. So you can see we've got a much more cohesive pattern going here again. This one can also go up and meet up with that. And we just work our way along. I always found so far that it's been easier to start at the bottom, kind of in the middle, pick a spot where things are kind of obvious, and then work our way through.
And Jeff, what if you have some branches that die back or...
Well, so interesting that you mentioned that. I wanted to mention that. When we built this, everything looked great. But remember, we're working with, 7-foot unrooted cuttings. So we can see, if we actually come right here, I don't know if you can see it, Laura, or not. You may have to sneak in a little bit, but it's the best one I can show, I think. If we sneak in here, we can see that this stem, up to about 3 feet off the ground, stayed alive, but it died from 3 feet all the way up. But here it is. This is it here. It's still tied in. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to use it as a guide. Doesn't matter if it's dead or not. It's still there. The branches that are coming off the lower part of that stem are still alive. Then we've actually woven one, and that's this one here, has been woven onto the dead stem. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie those on at this stage. They're not quite long enough yet to keep going, but we're going to tie them on here. And if we take a couple of these ones down here that are coming off below, we can wrap them around, tie it on, and the dead branch very quickly disappears into the braiding of the stems. So there we go. We've worked around that dead stem, and as these other small new branches here will continue to weave that in and work its way all the way up until they can take the place of the dead one that will go all the way up to the top here. So that's really how we work it. And you can see already, you can see the little area that we did here, the pattern is coming back. So it looks pretty unruly at the moment, but if we just keep taking these stems, so here's a little funny one here coming out in the middle of nowhere. You can see him. But it's on this cross piece. So we'll work him into that cross piece.
Would you ever use any of those and make more cross pieces if they were growing?
You know what? You could make more cross pieces. What I tend to do is I never want to lose the pattern we have. I want to be able to see that all the time. So the only time I might alter where I'm taking the branch is if I have a cross branch that's down low, let's say this one, that's coming off this one, but it's heading this direction. And it's right up the base. So I'll take it and weave it with the cross branch that's coming along this way. And if we do that, then we still have the pattern. These ones here will get tied up over this way. Yeah, these ones will get tied up over this way. And they'll go all the way up here. This one here is coming off this angled one as well, but there's not much coming off the straight pole. So we'll weave it in to the ones coming off the straight pole. And like I say, look at how flexible that willow is at this point in time, that we can get it twisted right up in there. And in some cases, actually not even have to do anything to it. It's going to stay in place. Whoops. Broke that one. That's okay.
Prune it.
Just going to prune it off. It's getting a little bit rigid, but we can work it in to that one. So you can see how the pattern is coming back and still being maintained. We can use some of the small ones to wrap it all in. And then once we get wrapped in, we'll tie it, and we're maintaining our shape. So now we're at a tricky part where we've got to start putting the tops together. So we're going to see how that goes. Okay, Laura, you may have to move back a little bit. So I'm going to just sort of see if I can get the two front post pieces tied together initially, and then we'll start weaving the side branches in. So we'll get up here. There's lots of growth here on our corner post. So I'll take one of these, I'll twist it right in. Oops. A little higher. I'll twist it right in. So there's our post. Here is our other post. Lots of small branches. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring them over. And that's a pretty decent arch height, I think. That looks good. So what we'll do with this is we'll tie it in place. This is just going to be one tied in place in one spot there. I got lots, so I'll give it a good strong group of knots here. There we go. Good strong group of knots. And look at how sturdy that's getting already. It's amazing. Then what we'll do to start to make it really sturdy is we take the angle piece that's coming from three stems back. It comes all the way over here. And it's not quite long enough yet. So we're just going to have to leave it. Loop and stop. I know you don't like me up the ladder. It's okay. But we'll find where we can get 1, 2, 3. So here's our next piece. And it's still a little short. But to start to get the roof standing, let's just make sure we've got this organized. No, this is actually okay, here we go. So this is our second one upright. And we have some side shoots coming from this way. All right, hang on a
So
second.
you're going to do the weaving pattern on the roof?
We're going to try to do the weaving pattern right into the roof, so it builds up a lot of structural strength. So we just have to we may cheat it a little bit just looking at what's here, because anything that comes off the side of this first one, and I just have to get it in the right pattern.
Together and then weave?
So we've got some of the first one here. So what I can do is take some of these that are coming out like this. We're going to weave them in. And twist together some of that. This is going to get pulled back this way because it still wants to lean forward. So we're going to move it back. And we can take some of that and get these tied in place as well. So we'll have to come back to these and tie them in a bit more. But I don't want to bore you with watching a million tied knots together. So see this one here, we'll twist this one around. And the more and more we twist these around and get them to their desired spacing, which is about here, where they're standing up straight, we're going to form a great arch. And then we're going to take these really tall ones here, and however they come across, they're going to get woven together too. And as long as the first some from the first three at this end get tied into this, some at the last three at the back end get tied into that, the rest will just sort of fall into place, and we'll have a great, sturdy, strong willow arch. Then what we'll do in the future, once we get it heavy enough, a lot of these things will just get pruned off in the spring. So we just have the structure there with the leaves that sprout off the structure. Right now we're using some of these for structure, but in the future we won't. So I'm just going to keep working on this. Do we have any questions this morning, Laura?
What is a good cord to use on smoke bushes that have strong branches that have become unruly? Every year or so we cut the tops off because they get too tall. Also, what can we do to prevent powdery mildew that has been caused by the heavy rain?
Powdery mildew, we talked about this on the radio yesterday. Powdery mildew, starts to form when you get these cool, damp weather sometimes. Air circulation, cleanliness. If you get powdery mildew on some leaves, pick them off, get rid of them. If you allow leaves that have powdery mildew to drop on the ground, they're just going to reinfect the tree again. So cleanliness, you can do some pruning to improve the air circulation. Really the best bet against powdery mildew. Now with the smoke bushes, what you may want to do is you may want to do a bit more pruning, because just continually nipping off the tops doesn't always help a shrub with good form, and it also encourages a lot of inner shoots that can congest the plant and then not allow for good air circulation. So like with most shrubs, look at that smoke bush, and you may want to take out one or two of the oldest stems and allow new fresh growth from the base. Smoke bushes are amazing. They'll replace a tall old stem, just like these willows are doing, with extremely vigorous new growth from the base. You rejuvenate the shrub at the time. You get rid of some of that inner, craziness. New stems are vibrantly purple. New leaves are bigger and really intensely colored and can be quite beautiful. So, any other questions, Laura?
Just in terms of mildew, that seems to be a yearly problem with service berry bushes. Any advice?
For the mildew on service berries?
With the fact that it's a yearly problem.
The only other thing you can do, if you've got this as a recurring issue, then there are some plants that just get mildew no matter what. Use a lime sulfur spray. You get lime sulfur in your dormant oil kits, but you can use it all year long. Lime sulfur before you see any fungus issues. Funguses can't be cured per se, but they can be prevented. Okay? So always spray them before you see fungus damage, and that'll help control powdery mildew.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep tying and braiding, and we'll put some pictures up on Instagram and Facebook later when we get it all tied up. It might not be today. It could be a couple of days from now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time on Let's Get Growing.